Welcome back to Fox and Friends on this Saturday morning. Just a few days until Super Tuesday, the first, the SEC primary. Many states up for grabs. Joining us on the phone this morning is the GOP frontrunner, Donald Trump. Donald, thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you here. A few days left, of course. The gloves are off, and Chris Christie throwing his support behind you yesterday. Was that a big shock to you?
Well, I was really honored. You know, everybody wanted Chris. Everybody was calling him, and I know Chris very well, and I didn't feel I should do that. And Chris called up out of the blue, and he said, "You're the one that's going to win." We have a movement going on. Every time I speak, we have 6,000-7,000 people. That's like a small crowd. And he sees what's happening, and Chris was he was so fantastic. And honestly, he's the one endorsement to me that really meant a lot.
And you said, Mr. Trump, during that announcement yesterday that you get phone calls from other big names that want to endorse you, but you chose Chris Christie. Should we expect any big endorsements, any more big endorsements from you in days to come?
Yes, I think you can. But, you know, frankly, sometimes they want to have dinner and let's get together for 2 hours and let's go to a movie together. It's just like, you know, it's too much work. And I'm not sure what endorsements mean. I've never really understood it. But I did think that the Chris Christie endorsement meant a lot. I think the Sarah Palin endorsement meant a lot. I think that Jerry Falwell Jr. meant a lot.
Do you think these endorsements move needles for you? You said you didn't really look for any endorsements. You don't really care about them, but this is one that you did want, as Sandra had mentioned. Do you think it helps you on Super Tuesday in any big way?
I do. I think Jerry Falwell Jr. really helped me a lot with evangelicals. You know, it's Liberty University. I'm leading with evangelicals all over the country. I won in South Carolina. That was supposed to be really a stronghold for Ted Cruz, and he was supposed to win that. He was expected to win that for a long time, and I won it, and I won evangelicals. I won it by tremendous margins, too, by, you know, incredible landslide. And so I think certain people do really help. There's no question about it.
Mr. Trump, obviously the endorsement from Chris Christie didn't come out of the blue. It was timed to, in some ways, blunt what some saw as momentum from Senator Rubio. There has been a lot of back and forth between the two of you in the last 24 hours. We're going to play a quick clip of that back and forth and get you to respond.
Okay.
We are not going to lose the conservative movement to a con man. We are not going to let that happen. And the reason why is because this election is too important. In this election is a referendum, and you have to decide what kind of country will America be in the 21st century. Here we believe everyone has the right to go as far as their talent and their work will take them. But that was not an accident. You know why that happened? Because the people who came before us did what needed to be done. And I know that there are people out there that perhaps are intrigued by one of the other candidates. Maybe they like their style or their whatever they're doing. Let me tell you something. Friends, do not let friends vote for a con artist.
Con artist, he said, called you a clown. He said you're going to take the mask off. He said you're sticking it to the little guy. What say you to Marco Rubio?
Well, he's desperate. He's doing very badly. They hate him in Florida. I'm up 20 points in Florida. They hate him there. He didn't even show up to vote. He couldn't get elected dog catcher in Florida. And, you know, what happens, it's really a very insulting thing. I built a great company. I did not take in from my father. I love my father. He was such a great guy. But he did not give me $200 million. I wish he did. I said yesterday.
Where's he getting that number then from, sir?
You know what? He got it from an article that was written in the failing New York Times by a terrible writer that had no idea what he was writing. I wish he gave me $200 million. That'd be worth $10 trillion right now. I borrowed $1 million. I paid it back, and I built a company that's worth over $10 billion, which is a pretty good return. Very few people have ever done that before. That I can tell you. But he goes around saying now he adds the $1 million in. Now he does say you know, he added that when he found out that he was wrong. But I only wish my father gave me that kind of money. And I also have brothers and sisters. You know, one of the first calls I got, my brother and my sister called me. He said, "That's not true. Dad never gave you that." So it was sort of an interesting, but he goes around saying it. He's a bad guy, very insulting guy. I built a great company, had one of the top television shows, one of the top shows on television, wrote The Art of the Deal, #1 bestseller, many, tremendous bestsellers. And then I have to listen to this total lightweight. He's a lightweight. Call me a con man. What a disgraceful thing that he's allowed to do it.
You made some comments the other day that raised some eyebrows among in the press, and you brought up the New York Times. That was one of the things you mentioned when you're out on the campaign trail. You mentioned the libel laws, and that when you're president, you would like to see a greater ability to sue publications who write things about individuals like the New York Times or others if they write what you would call hit pieces.
Right.
So, critics would say, oh, that's an affront to the free press in the United States. What do you say to that?
No, the press has to be fair. I love free press. I think it's great. But the New York Times, I call it the failing New York Times. It might not even be in business too much longer. It is so poorly run. Every single article they do on me, I could do the greatest thing in the world. Every article they do on me is a hit piece. I mean, they're a disgrace. Every editorial is a hit piece. And I think it's just a disgrace. And frankly, it's also wrong. They know it's wrong. They did an article recently. They actually said to me, it's wrong, we're going with it. I said, why don't you retract it? No, we're not going to do that. They are a disgrace.
All right.
And what I said is we ought to open up the libel laws, and I'm going to do that.
So, Mr. Trump, I want to talk taxes for a minute because Mitt Romney sort of opened a can of worms when he said that there's potentially a bombshell in your tax returns. You said on the debate stage that you weren't going to release them because you're currently being audited. The IRS has now put out a statement saying that nothing prevents individuals from sharing their own tax information even when they're in audit. Is that going to change your mind and encourage you to release those tax returns since so many are calling for you to do so?
No, not at all. Look, I'm being audited. I've been audited for many years. It's very unfair. The IRS always audits me. Eventually, I settle it out, and it's it's fine, but it's very unfair to me. Now, you can ask why they audit me all the time, because I have friends that are very rich. They don't even know what I'm talking about. They've never been audited. And I say, how come I'm audited virtually every year? But when you're under audit until the audit's done, you don't release your returns because you're releasing something that, who knows? I mean, you want to get them exactly perfect, and you just don't release it. Plus, no lawyer would ever allow you to release a tax return while you're being audited. So I've been audited for so many years, it's actually a disgrace. And, as soon as the audits are finished, I have no problem. Now, there is no bombshell whatsoever. Number one, Mitt Romney was a failed candidate, a terrible candidate. He wants to get back into the cycle a little bit, I guess. But it has nothing to do. I also, by the way, nobody released financials like I did, almost 100 pages long. It showed the company is worth over $10 billion. I built an unbelievable company, and starting with very little, by the way, but I built an unbelievable company, some of the greatest assets in the world. I say that because that's the kind of person we need at the head of our country with, $19 trillion and going to be $21 trillion in debt. We're a total mess. We don't know what we're doing. We have leadership that doesn't know what it's doing, and that's the kind of leadership we need. But I put in my financials. They were totally disclosed, and that's your only statement of net worth. By the way, you can't learn much from a tax return. You cannot learn. In fact, you can learn almost nothing about net worth. But I put in my net worth statement, and that's been filed, and unfortunately, people are very unhappy with it because it's turned out to be so strong and so good that the press is very unhappy.
Ted Cruz,
but I would open up, and I just want to, I made the statement. A lot of people didn't pick it up. I will open up the libel laws so when papers write false information about people, they can bring a lawsuit, and if in fact they're right, you're able to sue the papers and you can get damages.
Ted Cruz asked from the debate stage, why not release the tax returns from the years you're not being audited in? Will you do that?
Because everything's interrelated. Ted Cruz never employed one person. I employ thousands of people. Over the years, I've employed tens of thousands. I have a massive company. You may have seen the pictures with me where I'm standing with 3 feet of tax returns. Everything's interrelated.
So, Mr. Trump, a lot of your supporters are hoping that you will do for the economy what you've done for your businesses and what you say you've done for your businesses. We talked earlier about the GDP number that just came out for the fourth quarter. This country growing at a dismal 1%. It was just reported. Are you going to be, as a President Trump, going to be able to improve that? What's the first thing that you would do to get this economy going again?
Right. It's such a great question. Totally. In fact, every poll says I'm the only one that can do that. I mean, I have such an advantage with that. We're bringing back jobs from China, from Mexico, from Japan. We're bringing back our jobs. Our jobs have been taken away like we're a bunch of babies. Our people have lost so much money. If you're a middle-income person, you're making less money now than you made 10 years ago. Our economy is a disaster. Our unemployment is through the roof. They say it's 5%. It's actually 25%. It's through the roof. If you look for a job and you give up, they consider you employed. That's how that number was put there for politicians to make the politicians, in particular presidents, look better, the 5% number. And I will tell you, we have a horrible unemployment problem. We have tremendous numbers of part-time jobs, which we never had like this before, because Obamacare is killing our economy. Everybody puts it down because they don't want to come under the reign of Obamacare. I mean, our country is a disaster.
Mr. Trump, I asked vets before this segment what question they would ask, and they wanted to know, do you use hiring preferences for veterans in your companies?
I do, and I've hired a lot of vets, and I love the vets, and I've had tremendous support from the vets. I won in New Hampshire. I won in South Carolina, in particular, those two with the vets. The vet support has been incredible, absolutely incredible. The evangelical support has been incredible. I won every one of my victories, and as you know, we're running the table. Every one of my victories I've had across the board, men, women, high income, low income, vets, the military, evangelicals. We've had unbelievable support. That's why Chris Christie really wanted to go with us.
Well, just a few days until Super Tuesday, taking some time out to talk to us this morning. Donald Trump. Mr. Trump, always great to talk with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, video you won't see on the mainstream media showing what cops go through every day on the job. But take a look.
You listen to me. Now, and I do apologize for calling you You're not a and I'm sorry.
Meet the police chief behind this eye-opening video.